It's Calgary's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
Today's guest is Joey Pomerleau, who is founder and CEO of Wednesday Co. Welcome to the show, Joey, and thanks for taking the time today to be here for our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me today, Mario.
Tell us a little bit about Wednesday Co., what it is and what it does.
So the purpose is we're trying to kind of change the rhetoric around the conversation of sex and the conversation around condoms. Up until kind of where we've started to come in, condoms have only been marketed to young, straight, white males. And there hasn't really been a brand that's pushed the envelope to include all of these other people, whether it's people who are a little bit older, people who have a different body type, people of a different skin color, and definitely people of a different sexuality other than straight, whether that's gay, lesbian, queer, the whole LGBTQ plus spectrum.
So tell me how Wednesday Co. works.
So Wednesday Co., you come into our site, pick a plan that kind of fits your lifestyle. We have 3, 6, or 12 monthly condoms that you can get delivered to your house. So you simply just come in, make a profile, pick your plan, and you set it and forget it, and then they're there when you need them.
Tell me, as an entrepreneur, what are the benefits of doing business in Calgary?
You know, I have found growing up in Calgary that although a very conservative place, it seems to be very open to new ideas and open to fostering new young talent. I think I kind of coming up here and kind of starting out have felt that my community is behind me, and you know, with having support from people like you in Canada's podcast, I think there's lots of places where I wouldn't have that opportunity.
What are the challenges of doing business in Calgary?
I have not personally come across too many challenges specifically here in Calgary. My business is online based, so I don't have a lot of the barriers that some other brick and mortar stores might have.
Why would you recommend Calgary to entrepreneurs who are starting up a business?
I think Calgary is in a place right now where it's really looking to expand their horizons. I think we've been in oil and gas for so long, and I'm, a big supporter of oil and gas still. But I think we're looking to find a new voice and to bring in some new revenue streams. And I think that's a kind of great place for people to start out and get their word out there.
For yourself personally, we all need to take a break from our jobs and our work, right? What do you do to disconnect and recharge, or where do you go?
My biggest kind of disconnecting moment is usually in a spin class or some sort of workout environment where I can really focus on that moment and focus on the loud music or the intense workout or whatever. And I have found that for me is better than any kind of counseling or self-help book. It's really my go-to.
What are you most excited about, as you look at your business these days?
I'm most excited about the future. I'm really excited about kind of younger generations and how they're already changing the rhetoric. I think they're a lot more open, and as they get older, start moving into university, etc., I'm excited to see how they react to my business and how they continue our message forward.
Okay. And when you look at that vision for the company going down the road, where do you see the company being in 2, 3, 5 years?
2 years, I would really like to expand our product offerings and, bring in more things under that sexual health umbrella or sexual wellness umbrella. 5 years, I would hope to be expanding into new markets globally, potentially into the UK, Australia, different markets that align with our values and I think would be very accepting of our message.
Now, when you obviously starting up a new business, what has been your greatest challenge that you've had to overcome?
I think personally, my biggest challenge has been my own mind. I am a perfectionist at heart, and I like things to go my own way. And I have really found and learned over the last year and a half that that's never going to be the case. or very rarely will be the case. Mm-hmm. And that's aside from any kind of regulatory issues and logistical issues that I've had, that's been the biggest one.
You know, when you look back, knowing what you know right now, what do you wish you would have known at the beginning when you first started this?
Looking back now, I would tell myself to just take a breath and sit down and look at all the options that I have on the table. Like many entrepreneurs, I kind of want things quickly and I want things now. And I think I would tell myself just to take a step back, look at it from a different perspective, and really weigh out some options before kind of jumping to conclusions.
What's the best piece of advice as an entrepreneur you've received?
The best piece of advice that I've ever received, and actually kind of found on Google, was to kind of set some unrealistic expectations and kind of strive to achieve those, whether it's getting a shorter deadline completed, whether it's getting a product done in a certain way that someone told you it might not be possible, kind of setting those expectations for yourself and then trying to bring everybody else along with you. So, really push for what you want and tell people what you want. And usually if you ask for what you want, you can get it.
Mm-hmm. Going to switch gears and ask you a couple of more personal questions. Everybody's got a bucket list these days. Do you have some bucket list, and what's on top?
I have always had a fear of heights. So doing something that would maybe help push me out of that fear. So maybe skydiving, some kind of paragliding.
I'm in the same boat. I had the same fear.
Something like that.
Okay. If you weren't doing what you're doing now in terms of a career or profession or whatever, what do you think you would be doing instead?
Being still in university myself, I definitely think what I'm doing right now is the career for me, whether it's this company, but generally being an entrepreneur. If I wasn't doing this, the other options I had kind of tossed around were maybe law school, potentially med school, something in those categories.
What book are you currently reading?
It's actually been a little while since I've read a book, just starting my company a couple months ago. It's been mostly emails that I've been reading.
Okay.
But the last one I read it's called The Quest for the Best, or might be Quest for the Best, by one of the founders of Neiman Marcus. And it kind of outlines him traveling around the world and talking about the best things out there, whether it's like the best linen shirt, the best restaurant, kind of, and what makes those things the best.
If you could pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. One word, probably resilient. Over this last year and a half, when I kind of started this journey of starting up Wednesday Co., there has been quite a few roadblocks and things, and a lot of people have told me no numerous times. And I think as I said, with my kind of best piece of advice, I've really had to push back and stand up for what I want, stand up for my vision, and it's finally come to fruition.
Now, if you're outside of Calgary, is there any place that you love to go to and spend time?
My favorite place, I've been lucky enough to do quite a bit of traveling. One of my most favorite cities is London. I still have some family there, and I've always loved kind of the general vibe and atmosphere around that city. And I've also spent some time in Vancouver in school, and I found that city to have a similar kind of metropolitan overcast vibe, and I have really enjoyed spending some time there with family. I have family in White Rock, so.
Okay, super. We're creatures of habit. Do you have a daily routine that you don't deviate from?
Not really. I usually wake up at the same time, around 8 o'clock, right kind of out the gate. I'm answering emails, and I like to get a lot of stuff done early in the morning and get out of the way and kind of try to have a lighter afternoon. So I think that's a constant, but every day it's a new struggle, something new to tackle. And
okay. I'm going to present you with a scenario. It's an oddball question. Okay, so imagine a beautiful tropical island in the middle of the ocean with only one phone booth and no internet. Okay, we're going to drop you off there with no technology at all. Any time you can use the phone booth to call us, and we'll come with a boat and pick you up and take you home. How long do you think you'll last before making that phone call? And what do you think you'd spend your time with there?
I would probably spend my time, one, figuring out some sort of water source or food source to make sure that I stayed alive. Two, probably laying on the beach, getting some sun. I love the sun. Something like that. I mean, thinking about how long before I made that phone call, I think I'm not a big technology fiend. I actually like more traditional ways of communication, either, simple phone calls or face-to-face meetings I've always really liked. So I could probably last quite a while up until, say, the food or water or whatever was sustaining me ran out.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add, Joey, before you leave us today?
I think it's been interesting. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household with a dad who's an entrepreneur and a mom who is also quite business savvy. And, I have learned that it's a lot different than what I thought. I always knew the rhetoric. I always knew about, business dealings and how that's done and lots of the keywords that were used and, finding my own footing. And I tried really hard to make sure that I did this all on my own without too much support in that kind of family way. It's really changed my perspective on what my parents do and did and has kind of humbled me in a way.
Okay, great. Thanks for being our guest today, Joey.